everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity to the masses?
Well, I don't know how secret it is, but I'm Judi Beecher, aka Madison Page in Heavy Rain.
And it's very nice to have you on the show today. We're very excited, and this is kind of my pseudo birthday gift for today.
Oh, is it your birthday?
Yes, I'm
Happy
22, and I
birthday. Happy
still
birthday.
haven't drank, even though I live in Vegas.
I would if I were you.
I know. I'm thinking about it tonight, but someday. Either way, we're really excited to have you onto the show. We've had a few people from Heavy Rain on the show before, like Pascal and Sam Douglas. So it's nice to finally get to talk to a female from the game.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Well, for all the listeners out there who might not be familiar with your body of work, what initially sparked your interest into acting?
Into acting.
Mhm.
Gosh, well, I always acted since I was 3 years old. I was acting, not professionally, but in my house, putting on plays, putting on performances in the basement, with all my cousins and directing them. And I was always the star. And um, even though I was very shy, when I was acting, I was like the star. And so then I didn't professionally start acting until later, until after school, until after I finished college. Um, but yeah, I've always been doing some sort of acting or singing or something behind.
I think it's interesting that you say that you used to be shy because we have a lot of, fans who listen to these and they're like, "Oh, I'm too shy to be into acting or anything like that. Like, I can't." But I feel like if you can kind of power through it eventually, you know?
You can. I mean, I used to. It's really funny because people, when I was a little kid, because I used to sing as well, and I used to take like the microphone from this radio, and I would plug it into the stereo and sing in my living room. And I wasn't shy when I was doing that, but you'd get me on a stage, and I would completely freak out, and I was so nervous, and my voice would shake, and I would just be really, really scared to sing in front of anybody, and nobody could hear me. They would be like, "Oh, you have a beautiful voice, but we can't hear you. Sing louder." And I was just like, my voice would be like, "Ah." And so it's really funny how, years later that I became an actress and a singer and was able to get over my stage fright, I guess you would call it, as a kid.
Well, now I have to wonder how much, stage theater, acting do you do in comparison to, say, TV?
I do more film and TV than theater at this point right now. My training is in theater, but I've been doing more film and TV stuff. Um, and I was just going to say, for those who have stage fright as well, um, my sister had to like speak in public, and she's like, "Well, there's this like pill that you can take." That like takes away the stage fright. I was like, oh, really? Okay. I'll
Don't
keep
do drugs,
trying.
kids. Well, I would think that being on a set, even though it's, you're still performing, the feeling you would get would be different than being on a stage, but obviously it could be wrong.
But no, it still is. It depends on like what it is that you have to do. Because I always get nervous before I'm going to do something, and I think that's normal, and it's good as well for your performance to get nervous, because it stimulates that adrenaline, and it's like you're not, then you don't give this like dead performance, but because it's your nerves, and you want to do well, and you don't want to disappoint the audience. You don't want to, you want to do a good job. You want to give justice to the character. And if the scene is to be something where you're crying, or angry, or whatever it is, you have to make that real for you, and you have to make it real for the scene. And it's difficult sometimes to stay in that state and to get into that state before you actually have to go on and perform. Um, so yeah, so there is, there definitely is a nerves that are involved in it that that most people feel. Um, so yes.
Well, I understand that because I've done like over 350 of these interviews and I still get a little bit nervous beforehand because I have no idea what I'm getting. You know, like it could
Right.
be somebody who's over the top or it could be somebody that's like, yes, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, I still have to feel like that helps me get into it, in a way. Just that I'm nervous or I'm anxious for it or I'm excited for it. It helps me to better do my job or to go on air. So I feel like it's a requirement. If you don't feel that, you're kind of not going to feel much when you go on air.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, like I feel, even before doing this, it's different when you're, I get a little nervous too, before doing this interview with you, but it's different because it's me. I'm talking
Hmm.
about me. I'm talking about my life and me rather than becoming someone else and having to give service to them, to their life, to the character's life. It's a little bit different. I'm having to remember lines. I don't have to remember lines for this. I don't even know what you're going to ask me. So yeah,
We want to keep you on your toes.
scary. It's a little scary, but it's me I'm talking about, rather than a character,
Exactly.
which you create a whole backstory and a whole back life for a character. Um,
Well, I'm curious for the listeners out there because obviously we have a lot of Heavy Rain fans, but I'm not exactly sure how you go from TV and film to a project like that. Because from what I could find with my stalking on the interwebs, I couldn't find you doing much other video game work.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I got cast, I was cast out of Paris through my agent at the time in Paris. And when she approached me with this for an audition with this, I mean, I had never auditioned or done video games before, but it was such an interesting concept because it was like a 20-hour movie and it would be done like a movie except that each scene has five different endings to it, which for me as an actor was really interesting because even when I went in for the audition it was really cool because it gave me the chance to be able to take a scene and do it five different ways and act it five different ways and that it could possibly be and it was really cool so it really as an actor it was a huge challenge as an actor because you had to as well as sometimes when you do voiceover work you have your script right there but with this we didn't have a script that we couldn't read the script because we had the sensors all over our face and the motion capture sensors so we had to be off book we had to be memorized so everything had to be memorized all the five different endings had to be memorized and so as an actor it was one of the biggest challenges I think I've ever had as an actor. Having to do this and memorize it and do it well and do each scene, the way it's supposed to be done, the different endings. So it was really it was a very cool experience for me. It was hard. It was really hard. It was really challenging. Um, but I loved doing it. I loved the challenge. I loved being put up to the challenge because for an actor, it was great.
And I
And I,
always hear too, if one of those little balls falls off, you have to redo the scene all over.
yeah, because well, they're not getting those, because it's picking up. They have all these cameras that are, focused on your face or your body if you're doing body capture. And if one of them falls off of your lip, then you're not getting that movement of the lip. It's only like partial movement. So, so yeah, you would have to if it came off, and they did come off while we were doing it, while I was doing it. Um, so yes, you would have to redo it. That
And you
particular.
have quite a few action scenes, but I do know that there was uh, technically two people who did body and face for Madison.
Well, no, the face was all done by me. Um,
Okay.
the body was done by Jackie. She did the body, and it was her picture. It was her visual. It was her face and her body. But all the motion capture in the face was done by me because I did all the dialogue. So you can't have her doing the facial while I'm doing the while with me speaking. So yeah, so I did all the facial motion capture, and she did the body.
I think it's really interesting that for that character they had to use two different women, but for the all the other characters it seems like they only had to use one person.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she had an accent when she speaks, so they wanted the character to be American. So I was cast after her, and that's why they brought me in on it.
I see. I think I saw her speaking in a different language in an interview like years ago. So I just thought she couldn't speak English. So I was under the wrong impression.
Oh, really? She was speaking in another language?
I thought
Sure,
as
it's
much.
Jackie or
I mean, I thought it was her. I think it was at like some sort of party in the UK. So it could have been I was hearing so many different languages. It was just like language overload.
possibly. I know they did like we my I originated the dialogue,
Mhm.
and I did we did the original character. Jackie did the body, and I did the all the dialogue and the face. And then Heavy Rain was done in other countries as well. So then other people dubbed over what we had done. They did a dubbing instead of originating it with the motion capture. I guess because it's been done in many languages in different countries. That Heavy Rain. I'm not even sure how many.
Well, I'm pretty sure some of the actors still had an accent or they knew other languages because when you play the game, one thing that sounds really weird when you play it is a lot of people can't say origami. They say origami, which is kind of awkward in English.
Yeah, or a
So
gambler.
origami killer. There's one specific character I remember that did it frequently throughout the game. He was a jerk cop, not one of the cop you play, Norman Jaden. He's the partner, and he's a jerk. I hate him. I want to kill him in the game. He was so mean. But no, no. Either way, what was really interesting though for the character that you got to you got to voice and you got to do face capture for is that she's not necessarily some damsel in distress. She's very, gung ho and is willing to get in very dangerous situations where you're like, no, turn around. Why would you do that? So, so that must have been actually really interesting because she has quite a few fight scenes both in the DLC and the actual game.
Hmm. Well, she's a strong character, also. She's a very strong character. Um, but then it depends on what you choose as well,
Yeah,
because
that's true.
there are many different, endings for each scene.
One that really stands out very much for me with her is when you go to this, I think, doctor's house
Hmm.
and you can take a sip of a drink, and if you do, you get knocked out and you're in his basement. He's going to cut you up, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
wonderful. Or if you decide to explore, he will beat you over the head with a bat, and then you can struggle.
Right.
So that was actually really surprising because she kicked butt in that scene, and we had seen her running away from like this dream sequence earlier, and she failed. So to be able to succeed with her was, I think, really just awesome to do with that character.
Yeah, I love when she succeeds.
Well, yeah, because then your character doesn't die.
Right. Right. Well, it's funny. This I like the best. There's the scene in the disco.
Oh yes.
Yeah, where she goes and she hits him over the head, and
That was
sure.
well, to be quite frank, that was a really funny scene because you didn't expect her to do what she did after she slapped him with the lamp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason we're not stating it outright is because it involves grabbing private parts. Just gonna go out there and probably breaking them, I think was her intent. So, child safe. And
We don't talk about those things.
but no, when the game actually came out though, were you a little bit worried because it's not like a typical game. You know, it's a very different style and it has a very unique take on how gaming should be. So were you concerned about the reaction it was going to get?
No, no, I wasn't. I mean, I knew it was done in a, it's a different type of game. It's a different type of game. It's like a movie, which for me is, that's what I do best. I do movies best. So I wasn't worried about what the reaction would be.
I'm really happy that it seems like we're going to see more of these, not just from Quantum Dream, but from other companies too,
Mhm.
because they're just so interesting. It's nice to be able to play a game from a gamer standpoint and be like, "Oh God, you can't die once. If you die once, I'm screwed." You know, like because in normal games, you know, if a character dies, it's all right. You know, you don't need to actually, you could just restart or reset or whatever. And with Heavy Rain, you feel like you can't do that. You have to do it perfect.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, because it's a long process too. You want to keep your characters alive as long as possible,
Especially if you sympathize with them. You want
Right,
them to
right,
stay
right,
alive
right, right, right.
and not die at the end, which is
No, you don't want
horrible when that happens.
that.
Though I do have to give you props though for being able to hide in a fridge for a fire. I know that scene wasn't written by you, but that came out that was like right after the Indiana Jones fourth movie, and I was playing that scene in a game store I used to work at. And everybody was watching me, and we couldn't figure out where to hide, and we ended up hiding in the fridge because I couldn't find anywhere else. Because I was too chicken to jump out a window, and everyone's like, "Oh, oh, oh!" You just heard the whole store like explode when it actually worked.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was glorious. I absolutely loved it.
Well, it's so funny because like doing the voice on those scenes, um, it's because it's like you're in a little booth when you're doing it, and you have to do it over and over and over when you're doing that. And like what they what they told me, I was like hyperventilating practically when I was doing scenes like that because it's you're not actually physically doing it, but you're physically doing it in the chair, and I like they said like porn stars hyperventilate all the time.
I
I
didn't
was
know
like,
that, but now
I
I know.
literally I had to like there was like there's certain times I had like I couldn't breathe. I was just like I felt like I was gonna faint after doing those. So it's like you really get into the character, and if you do, it's just in a closed space like that. It's like it's really hard. It was really hard. So
Well, it does make the more character believable and real to the audience.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it was worth hyperventilating.
Well, I think right there we're going to take a short break here on 91.8 The Fan, but don't go anywhere because our special guest isn't. So keep it tuned to your favorite station where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. Hey, everybody out there! You're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and my special guest is still here. I assume you're still alive.
I am. I'm still alive and kicking.
She survived the fridge. The fridge
I
is
did.
doing
I got out. I got out somehow. I don't
it.
know, but I did.
Now, behind the scenes, we were talking a little bit about one interesting scene that happens in Heavy Rain. And spoilers, since we've already spoiled most of the game already. But I think it's safe since it's been out for so long. But there is a scene where you can get with the character Ethan Mars. And you wanted to explain, I assume, some
Well,
awkwardness.
yeah,
But
well, it was really funny because there's a scene where there's a kissing scene, and it was just real for me as like, doing the voice and the sounds and the for it. I was alone in the booth. So I wasn't with him, and I had to do these scenes by myself. So I had to like because yeah, I'm doing the facial motion capture, so I had to like make out with myself. So it was really really funny. Like when there's nobody else there and you have to pretend you're or make out with yourself and do all the facial movements and stuff. So that was probably one of the funniest things I've ever done. And
And then
everybody
you have all the engineers watching you.
we're all cracking up because it was so to do a love scene by yourself, it's really funny. So yes, that was I just wanted to
They couldn't even give you a pillow. They just let you have the back of your hand, and that was it.
not even my hand. I couldn't even use my hand.
Oh,
Like the air, I had to be like kissing the air. It was very funny.
God,
It was
even teenage boys get more than that. They get the back of the hand at least when they practice.
to practice on. Yeah, it was
I
fun.
can't I can't imagine like just how weird that would be because then you have all those people out of the corner of your eye that are watching behind like a glass or whatever.
Yeah, no, everybody was watching because it was such a funny thing to watch. Everyone was watching. They all applauded afterwards because it was hysterical.
Well, I
Yeah.
give you props for being able to go through that scene and not cracking up.
Well, I did at the end. I did. I was like, oh my God. I'll never forget that.
I hope somebody finds that raw footage just for the lows, just for
Yeah.
the laugh out louds.
Yeah, it was great. It was funny.
Well, now for the fans out there, whether it's video games or TV or what have you, are there any other projects that you're working on, not working out because you're probably in great shape anyway, that
Still
are
got
coming out soon?
that I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wrapped a feature called Sebastian. It's with Eric Roberts and Kathy Moriarty. And I'm not going to give away the story, but I play a very mean, a very mean woman. Very, very, very mean. So that's all I'll say. But that we just wrapped that. So we're hoping that they're editing the movie right now. So that we're hoping that that'll be out sometime, towards the summer. And it's called Sebastian. And then I just got nominated for Best Supporting Actress for a film that I did called The Warrior and the Savior.
Yay!
At the
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, just yesterday at it's the Saint Tropez Film International Film Festival. So the nominations just came out yesterday, and that movie it's about like these two South African kids that um, my character, my husband, we buy them on the black market. Their mother died of AIDS, and we bring them over to New York, and they end up. My husband is not a very nice man. And they end up escaping from us, and they're like loose in New York. These two little kids from South Africa. So that it's very exciting that we just got these nominations. The movie got 8 nominations in total, so that's really great.
You should
Um,
have just backhand that husband.
yeah,
Well, I can imagine in my head what it might be, and I'm just assuming
yeah,
that he's really mean to make two children run away from
yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I did that, and then I'm involved in a couple of other projects that we are going to be filming soon. Um, a project called Unscripted that Kim Fields is directing, and in that I play a French kind of housewives of New York character that owns a wig store in New York and goes and tries to compete to be an actress. um, and then another movie called Tango Shalom, which it's about a Hasidic man, a Hasidic Jew who gets the calling to dance the tango. Which that's the Lanyado brothers are doing that. They wrote that and are producing it. And I play in that. I'm playing a Russian soon-to-be bride of this man, the Hasidic man's brother. So that's what I'm playing in that.
A lot of really different and unique movies that you're in. I'm very,
Yeah.
very excited to see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, thank you. And then I did another movie. I produced another a film. I produced a short film. It's called Only in Paris. Um, and won a bunch of awards for that. Also, we got like best romantic comedy, best short, and best actress at the New York Independent Film Festival. So we're that's that's a romantic comedy, so that's something totally different as well. Different character. The other ones are features. That one is a short, but
Well,
I'm proud of it because I produced it.
well, for the listeners out there who want to keep up to date on what you're doing or want to know more information about these projects, do you do the social media thing? Do you Facebook or Twitter or even have your own website?
I do. I have a fan page on Facebook. It's my name, Judi Beecher, Judibeecher. Um, I have a website as well. It's my name, judibeecher.com. I am on Twitter. That's also my name on Twitter.
I'm so
Uh,
happy because you don't have other like your name and then four or five numbers like some of our
yeah,
guests do.
I guess, yeah, there's not that many of me, but
That's
which is
always a good thing.
good. Um, yeah. So those are all my, and then there's a site also for my film, Only in Paris. It's that one, it's www.only underscore in underscore Paris.com.
Awesome. Well, I know that the people in the live chat will be checking that out because I'm pretty sure somebody just posted the link. Good
Oh, cool.
job, people in the chat.
Great. Great.
Stock without actually hurting somebody. Okay, thanks. Do you have any events that you might be going to where fans can actually meet you? Anything like that?
Well, I'm going out to LA next week. I just went to a whole bunch of wonderful events this past week. I was at the first time film festival, but not anything in the next in the month. I will be at Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival, um, and at Tribeca as well in New York. I'll be back for Tribeca in New York.
And I'm sure you'll keep the fans up to date on your Twitter and Facebook and all that
Yes,
other
so
jazz.
I totally will.
Awesome. And now for the listeners out there, this is their favorite part because we have a tradition here on 91.8 The Fan, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to participate.
Depends on what it is. I'm scared.
We basically ask if you'd be willing to do a radio bump for us. The only trick of it, however, is that we do the takes live on air.
Okay, what is that? A radio bump? So like a
Yes.
promotion for you guys?
Yeah, pretty much, all you have to say is, hello, my name is, you insert your name. I do this. You can insert characters, you can insert where your website is, whatever you want. And you're tuned into 91.8, The Fan.
Sure.
So whenever you're ready, you can take your first take.
Okay. Hello, my name is Judi Beecher. I am an actress at www.judibeecher.com, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
See, that wasn't so hard. You didn't even make any mistakes.
I'm an actress.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I
I
remember my lines.
you would be surprised how many variations of the station name we have in our blooper folder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's everybody switches the numbers. I've had one person say 91.8, the boy. I don't know where that came from.
The boy.
Yes.
That's funny.
But either way, is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there? Maybe any words of wisdom or dating advice or I love you, okay, thanks?
I love you, Kate. Thanks. um, you know what? Never give up. Never give up. Keep the passion and never give up, whatever that means to you. So in your career, in your passion, in playing your games, whatever means a lot to you, just keep the focus, be focused on what that is. Remember why it means a lot to you and don't give up.
When you say don't give up, all I can think of is like never forget, never surrender, or whatever it is from that movie with Tim Allen. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's hilarious.
It's like just do it. 19,
Especially if you
just
love
do it.
it. Yes.
Yeah, just do it. And don't take no for an answer. Don't, that's don't take no for an answer. Don't give up because someone says no.
Exactly. Never give up,
Because
never
the
throw
next
it.
person will say yes,
Well,
and
yeah, as long as you
given
shut
up,
that
then
door.
you've given up.
Well, thank you so much. I know that the live chat has enjoyed this very much, and our listeners have enjoyed this, and this has been a lot of fun. So thank you for being on the show today.
You're quite welcome. It was fun for me too.
And for the listeners out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can find it on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and your ears tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.